What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. We are here on our usual Wednesday night shenanigans here on the All About the Birds weekly preview show here on the AATSports network. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Chip Keggy at Chip for the Birds, joined by the ever-loving Seattle Mariners fan, Johnny U at Johnny U9322, Johnny Uleka. We're doing things a little
They got the W today, so that makes me a lot happier.
Up, so we're okay. We're doing things a little differently tonight. We are kicking off the season in just a few short days against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. So we had to reach out to an Atlanta Falcons podcaster. And when we thought about who could we bring on, one name kept popping up, and it is the brilliant and wonderful Aaron Freeman at Falc fans from the LockedOn Falcons podcast. Aaron, welcome to the Thunderdome, baby.
3 men enter, only 2 are going to exit, I guess, is how it goes.
That's how we going to do.
Well, one of you guys is going down, then, I guess, because I'm coming at it from alive. But I appreciate you guys having me. Look forward to, Sunday's action between the Falcons and Eagles. And, it's exciting time. We've been waiting all off season long for this season to kick off. And, I think these are 2 teams with the Falcons and Eagles coaching changes made in the offseason. Falcons due to, consistently underwhelming. The Eagles a little bit questionable, I guess, given that Doug Peterson had so much success there. And whether, I guess, the question was how much of the Eagles' struggles last year was the quarterback or the coach. And seemingly they made changes for both. So we're going to find out the answer beginning on Sunday with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni kicking off things.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the coaching staff right away. I mean, because I think I saw something where it's very rare that you see 2 rookie coaches in their debut game against each other, and that's what we have. But before we get into that too much, let me run through the bills real quick. Let me run through the sponsors real quick, and then we will jump just all over it. What's up, man? Jason Sullivan chiming in. What's up, buddy? Christopher Corrigan. We will get to our predictions in a little while. And maybe we won't. We're going to talk about why and why not we might do our predictions. But real quick, lots of fantastic sponsors. First off, make sure you are liking, subscribing, sharing to our Facebook, our Twitter, our YouTube, our Twitters, our YouTube, our Instagrams. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Lots of great sponsors, including Statement Games, fun free twist on fantasy sports. Link is in the bio. Make sure you check it out. You've already drafted your fantasy team. Now get insider info. OddsJam.com. You can use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. It's gambling season, y'all. Get in on the OddsJam.com. The AATBIRDS.com/shop. All kinds of new incredible designs. You have to check it out. And Johnny, are they running some sort of special right now?
I think they are running 25% off. So
there you go. So get all kinds of great AAT merchandise. 99jersey.com. Use the code AATBIRDS20 for all of your wonderful jerseys. La Terrain Luxury Watches. Use the code AATBIRDS at checkout for 10% off. And my very favorite, and Johnny, I caught you doing it last night. I'm gonna give you a clue. Here's how you do it. We are sponsored by Manscaped.com. Use the code AATBIRDS for 20% off and free shipping at checkout.
Your balls will thank you.
That's how it's done, my friend. Yeah, I don't know what you did. You were like all like high. You're like, your balls will thank you. Sound like Mickey Mouse talking about testicles. It was great. So make sure you are checking out all of those great sponsors. What is up, Paul? Michael Bauer, what is worse, a loss or a tie? All right, so Michael, I am assuming that you are talking to all of us. So we'll take 15 seconds each on this. I'm assuming you're talking about Sunday's game. So what would be worse, a loss or a tie? Guest goes first. So, Aaron, what would be worse on Sunday, a loss or a tie?
I'm going to go with tie, just like Donovan McNabb. But, I pretend that ties don't exist.
Johnny, loss or a tie? What would be worse for you on Sunday?
I can't follow that up. That's perfect. A tie.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I mean, he even brought in the Philly sports of it all.
Number 5 will always love you.
Yeah, number 5 will always love you. I think a tie would be worse simply because at least with a loss you can learn from it. A tie, you're like, oh, we were just okay. So great question, Michael. Appreciate you. All right, let's jump into it. As Aaron said, we both of our franchises are a little bit different, but we have a lot of similarities going right now. So let's start with this. You are our expert on the Atlanta Falcons. So if you would be so kind, could you give us a rundown on your offseason, a rundown on the new coach, losing some of your veterans, switching defensive schemes. What do we need to know about Atlanta? And I'm going to move you to the center here so you can really take up some time and space there. So, Aaron, what do we need to know about Atlanta?
Yeah, things obviously started off with the team going back to last season, firing their head coach and general manager in Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff. They found the replacements for them back in January when the team hired Arthur Smith to be the head coach and Terry Fontenot to be the GM. Terry Fontenot comes from the New Orleans Saints organization where he was running the pro personnel side of things. Arthur Smith obviously had a lot of success as the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans the last 2 seasons, and the Falcons are hoping he can port that over here to Atlanta, where the play calling has not been quite up to par given some of the team's recent success. Obviously, the big move came this offseason. At the end of the offseason, that was trading Julio Jones, their longtime number one receiver, arguably their best player, arguably one of the best players to ever put on a Falcons uniform. And so that ushered in kind of a new era. Things started off this offseason with a little bit of question marks about Jones's future as well as quarterback Matt Ryan's future. The Falcons decided to stick with Matt Ryan for at least another year, restructuring his contract for seemingly like the 4th offseason in a row. And so that's going to buy Matt Ryan a little bit more time, but obviously there's going to be pressure on him to perform given his high cap number. I know Eagles fans are very familiar with teams having high cap numbers, particularly for quarterbacks, and deciding to get rid of them. The Falcons decided not to make that bold choice this offseason. They swapped out several starters on the offense. Todd Gurley, the running back, is out, and he's going to be replaced by Carolina Panthers free agent Mike Davis, who was a backup and shined at points last year when Christian McCaffrey was out of the lineup, replacing Julio Jones as their number 2 wide receiver now, with Calvin Ridley assuming that number 1 role is going to be Russell Gage, who was their number 3 last year. But obviously the big addition that the Falcons made was at the top of that 2021 NFL draft with the number 4 overall selection, opting against taking a quarterback, which I thought a lot of people thought would be, on the table for the team looking to the future for a life beyond Matt Ryan, and going with that sort of unicorn of a tight end by the name of Kyle Pitts out of Florida, a dominant player, or at least the Falcons hope will be a dominant player, was in college, was for 1 snap in the preseason that he got to play, and we can continue that in the regular season. Defensively, not a lot of major changes. They shuffled in some guys, some sort of veteran stopgap guys. They've got new options at the safety position, replacing guys like Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey and Ricardo Allen, longtime fixtures in the Dan Quinn era. They replaced them with players like Daron Harmon, a veteran from New England and Detroit. Most recently, Eric Harris from the Las Vegas Raiders. They drafted Richie Grant in the 2nd round of this past year's draft out of UCF. They added a stopgap corner in Fabian Moreau. Eagles fans are familiar with him from his days in Washington. They added a couple of linebackers and defensive linemen, but nobody really notable that really stands out, just sort of some rotational guys that could add some depth there. But really the big addition for the Falcons on the defensive side of the ball was less personnel based and more of their coaching staff, with the hiring of defensive coordinator Dean Pease, who comes with like 40 years of NFL experience. Most recently was with the Tennessee Titans with Arthur Smith in 2018, 2019, coordinating that defense. Previously, that had a lot of success as the defensive coordinator of Baltimore Ravens. So, those are some of the major changes. A lot more personnel stuff on the offense, a lot more coaching stuff on the defense.
So, you take it's a lot there, a lot to kind of.
Man was very thorough. I got to give him credit. Very thorough.
I like that. Kind of hit on everything, and I absolutely love that. And the one thing I want to bring up is what you last kind of talked about, Dean Pease. 3-4 defense, because he ran that when he was with I think he was with Tennessee, right, with Arthur Smith, and that's a big reason why he is with Atlanta, because him and Arthur Smith are close. So how does that defensive scheme, because the last few years, Dan Quinn was supposed to come over and have this spectacular defense and be able to, coming from Legion of Boom and coming from Seattle, and yet it seemed like the defense, severely underachieved, which I know you can attest to. How do you think Dean Pease is going to do with this defense? Now, of course, like you said, a lot of stopgap players, but do you think some of these younger players can kind of, rise up to the occasion that previous years, they weren't able to?
I like the usage of the term "rise up," the Falcons slogan there. So I appreciate that, Johnny. Yeah, I think with I think with Dean Pease and what he's going to bring to the table, you're right. The Falcons, they have some talented players. They have Grady Jarrett. They spent a lot of money on Dante Fowler last offseason. He did not perform up to expectations, but some of that is owed to injury issues. And the hope is that a healthier Dante Fowler will start to produce a little bit more as a pass rusher. They drafted A.J. Terrell, their rookie first-round pick last year, had a really solid rookie season, and looks like he's an up-and-coming top-end corner as he continues to develop. They have two solid linebackers in Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun, who made his impressive debut a year ago. And beyond that, as you mentioned, it's a lot more sort of stopgap guys. And so the key, I think, with Dean Pease, and you'll probably see this reflected this Sunday going up against this Eagles offense, is he's going to try to scheme things to make this group look much better than what their sort of individual pieces and components seem to suggest. And one of the ways that he probably is going to do that is doing a lot more disguising of coverages in the back end, something that the Falcons were inconsistent doing under Dan Quinn. They got better at that when Raheem Morris took over calling the defense in 2019, and then obviously took over as the interim head coach after Dan Quinn's dismissal last year, but still probably not as much as they probably should be doing. Another way is they're going to be dialing up a lot of pressure and bringing 4 and 5 and 6 man pressures a lot more frequently than they did historically under Dan Quinn. But again, when Raheem Morris took over the defense, being able to get pressure with 4 guys was a problem for that Falcons team last year due to the injuries to guys like Dante Fowler and Takk McKinley, who's now with the Cleveland Browns. And so the Falcons dialed up a lot of blitzes. So in a lot of ways, the Falcons defense probably schematically in terms of what their tendencies are going to be is very similar to what the Falcons did last year. But the hope is that with Dean Pease now calling the shots, they will be better at executing what their sort of schemes are drawing up. And I think, when you look at this week 1 matchup with the Eagles against Jalen Hurts, I think that's going to be key for them, given Jalen Hurts' lack of experience, given his tendency to hold on to the ball pretty quickly. You're probably not going to be able to get a lot of pressure against this Eagles offensive line, given some of the pieces that they still have up front there, the veteran pieces they have. And so you're going to rely heavily on pressure and disguise and maybe force Jalen Hurts to hold on to the ball, which he has a tendency to do for a bit too long. And that's going to give your pass rushers time to get after the quarterback and maybe disrupt things and maybe create a couple of turnovers for your offense to exploit. So I think Dean Pease is exactly what you want to have as a defensive coordinator in this particular matchup, but we'll see sort of how much success he's going to have in future weeks, because, next week he's going to have Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and there's nothing he's going to be able to dial up in that week 2 matchup that Tom Brady hasn't seen. I think, this week is a golden opportunity for Dean Pease and the Falcons defense to get off to a strong start and sort of show what they can have potentially in terms of sort of their best foot forward. But we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the season.
So let me ask you this, because we in Philadelphia are trying to, we know, new coach, trying to figure out if Jalen Hurts is the franchise quarterback, a lot of turnover. Like we know all of those things. So, but in Philadelphia, we still expect to go out and win a Super Bowl this season. And I say we, meaning Philadelphia fans. We, as common sense podcasters, we look at it and go, okay, we know what this season is going to be. It's a developmental year. We want to see an improvement from like 4 wins to 7 wins at the minute. Like we want to see certain things. And if we happen to make the playoffs because we play in the worst division in football, that's cool too. So, hearing that our teams are very similar, what is the feel of the expectations in Atlanta for this season?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place. From my perspective, it's similar to what yours is with the Eagles. This is kind of a feeling out year. You're trying to figure out what pieces that are holdovers from the Dan Quinn era and the Thomas Dimitroff era are worth keeping for this new regime long term. And that includes Matt Ryan, whether or not Matt Ryan's future is going to be long term here in Atlanta, or is he just sort of, keeping the spot warm for at a future date when the Falcons decide to turn the keys over to another young and probably cheaper quarterback in that regard. And so I think that's probably the overarching thing. But, when you talk to, us, as you refer to it, the fans out there are some folks that have been, pounding the table that the biggest thing holding back this Falcon team in the last couple of years, as they've missed the playoffs 3 consecutive years, really for the first time in the Matt Ryan era, has been their poor coaching on both sides of the ball,
Right.
offense and defense. And so there's a lot of expectations from those folks that the infusion of people like Arthur Smith and Dean Pease and those guys patrolling the sideline is going to lead to this team finally living up to the expectations that they failed to live up to in that heartbreaking Super Bowl loss and get back to the postseason like we saw in 2017 when the Falcons and Eagles squared off in the postseason. And, you know, I feel like that's a little bit too rich for me at this point in time to go that far. I do think the Falcons can take advantage of a relatively soft schedule in a relatively down NFC. You know, you have the teams at the top, teams like the Bucs, the Packers, potentially the Rams, et cetera. But, you know, maybe they can sneak in there as like a 7 seed if you know, all those teams in the NFC West decide that they're not going to live up to their expectations with teams like the Rams and 49ers, Seahawks, and Cardinals all sort of expected to make postseason runs. If one of those teams slips up, maybe there's a spot available for a 7 seed like the Falcons, like the Eagles, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's certainly a possibility if all things come together. But I think for the most part, it's a similar dynamic with the Falcons where it's kind of a feeling out year, and the performance of various players, including quarterback Matt Ryan, will just sort of determine some big decisions, some long-term decisions that they'll have to make next offseason.
Well, I mean, speaking of Matt Ryan, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 36 years old. I mean, he's not, and I know that, you know, that you're playing to your 40s now, like if you're Tom Brady and, you know, whatever fountain of youth he's drinking from, and your Drew Breeses. But is the expectation that Matt Ryan is going to play another 4, 5, 6 seasons with the Atlanta Falcons? Or would you have liked to have seen them dip into what is projected to be a really good draft class that just came out of quarterback?
Yeah, you know, I won't say all in on the Falcons taking a quarterback, but it would have been my preference given the value of that position, the importance of that position, and the idea of that if you're going to hit a mini reset button, I guess you could call it, you know, getting a cheap, good player at that position is very critical to some of your success being able to navigate this tough cap situation that the Falcons find themselves in. Again, Eagles fans are very, very familiar with the situation.
Yeah.
When you have
$50 million in dead cap space this season.
Yeah.
$50 million to other players from other franchises. $50 million.
And the Falcons are going to blow that away if they wind up moving on from Matt Ryan next offseason in some circumstance, because they're already carrying about 15 for Julio Jones, and they're probably going to be making some significant other moves to move on from some of their current players as well. So I think, you know, to answer your question, I would have went with, you know, Justin Fields, you know, Atlanta native at that number 4 overall pick. I'm happy with the Falcons' decision to take Kyle Pitts. You know, obviously,
he's a stud. I mean, he's a stud.
So it was one of those things where all off season long, I was saying, you know, the Falcons are sitting pretty, whichever way they go. They can either go with the stud unicorn of a tight end, or they can sort of build towards the future with the young quarterback, you know, in a player like Justin Fields or Trey Lance or whatever the case may be. So I think when it comes to the future of Matt Ryan, you know, that's still up in the air. And I think how he performs this season, my expectations that Arthur Smith will have comparable, maybe not quite to the same degree, success of being able to revitalize Matt Ryan's career that he did with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. Obviously, Matt Ryan has much better body of work over the last 13 years here in Atlanta than what Ryan Tannehill had over 7 or 8 years in Miami. So, you know, he doesn't have to sort of start from the ground floor as much. And so I think that gives, you know, Falcon fans, as well as a lot of people, a lot of observers, a lot of optimism for what he can do for Matt Ryan. And so I think Matt Ryan should be safe for at least another year. But the Falcons are going to have to make a big decision. Matt Ryan's counting on, like, I think, almost $49 million against the Falcons' salary cap in 2022. That is an untenable number. And so either you have to decide to either redo Matt Ryan's contract again, you can give him an extension, and that would tie him to your team for another 3 to 5 years, or you decide to move on from him and trade him, a la the Eagles did with Carson Wentz. That, you know, what decision the Falcons make, I think a lot of that's going to depend on how successful they are this season. It's easier to tie yourself to Matt Ryan long term if the Falcons are good this year and make the playoffs. It becomes a lot harder pill to swallow if the Falcons once again struggle as they did a year ago, and, you know, or a 5 or 6 win team, and you're still paying a 36-year-old quarterback, you know, $40-50 million a year. That becomes much harder to justify. And so those are some of the questions hanging over this Falcon team. It's not as big a question as sort of, is Jalen Hurts a franchise quarterback, but it is a big question that the Falcons are going to have to answer. Is Matt Ryan the guy for the next year? Is he the next guy for the next 5 years? We don't know that quite yet.
So
I love how they go, let's get rid of Julio Jones as a way to see if Matt Ryan's the guy. Go ahead, Johnny. I'm sorry.
No, but you look at Matt Ryan, and you can't say that the offense isn't set up for to succeed, because you have guys like Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage and Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts, like you mentioned, and if you look at Arthur Smith and the way the way Tennessee ran the offense and the way he runs an offense, wouldn't you kind of think Mike Davis would be somewhat of a perfect running back for that system? They use Derrick Henry in Tennessee. He's a bigger, powerful back, but he showed you last year in Carolina that he can do more than just run the football. And he was a very versatile player for Carolina when McCaffrey went down. So I feel that the offense really isn't the big issue for Atlanta. Of course, to me it's the defense. And we have a question here from Ryan. Like, who are the corners? And you mentioned a couple of the guys, with AJ Terrell and Fabian Moreau. But I think Matt Ryan will be okay with this offense because they still have playmakers. Even getting rid of Julio Jones, they still have playmakers. But my question to you, Aaron, and the one thing with an offense is the offensive line. How does the offensive line of the Atlanta Falcons stack up?
That's a big question, right? That's the one thing, one of the frequent memes that you might have seen on Twitter throughout the offseason, particularly back when Julio Jones was still a Falcon, was, people would throw out, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Mike Davis, even who's going to stop this offense? And a lot of people, snarkily would say the offensive line, because the Falcons have some major concerns at that point on that unit. And so I still have major concerns, and the Eagles are not the ideal test to go up against in week one, where your biggest weakness, arguably your biggest weakness on the entire team, is the interior of the Falcons offensive line. Hey, guess what? Fletcher Cox is coming to town. Javon Hargrave is coming to town. Brandon Graham is coming to town. Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett, and they got another guy in Milton Williams coming to town. All these guys, and it looks like at least in theory, the Eagles' defensive line is getting back to that level where they were one of the elite units, and everybody for several years was like, we got to get a defensive line like the Eagles. We got to go all in and get a dominant defensive line that can sort of go out there and win games. And when the Eagles were back then beating the Falcons on a pretty consistent basis year in and year out when they would face each other, it was largely due to the Eagles' front four being able to get reliable pressure against a soft Falcons offensive line. And it's probably going to be the same story again this weekend, where you're wondering if that Falcons offensive line can hold up against them. Specifically when it comes to the Falcons offensive line concerns, it's that left guard position where they have a rookie in Jalen Mayfield. They have a second-year center in Matt Hennessy, but he's a first-time starter. His 2 starts that he got at the end of last season, replacing an injured Alex Mack, who's now gone, were not necessarily things that you would look at and say, hey, he's going to be a fixture here for a long term. He was decent at best. And then Jalen Mayfield, I've had major question marks about him. As much as I love the Kyle Pitts pick, as much as I like the Falcons selecting Richie Grant in the draft, I had major questions about their selection of Jalen Mayfield, because given Arthur Smith's focus on the outside zone running scheme that he had a lot of success with Derrick Henry, and the Falcons have historically had a lot of success in the past with players like Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman running behind. Jalen Mayfield didn't really play in that type of offense at Michigan, and doesn't really look like a great fit, and had seems to be a little bit more of a project than a guy that you want to sort of throw to the wolves, especially against this Eagles front. Then next week they got Tampa Bay, then they got the Giants and those guys. And so it's a murderer's row of D tackles that you're going to face this first month of the season.
I like that you mentioned, easy schedule, and then you went, but here's what we're doing to start off the season. And it's funny because, as Eagles podcasters, we kind of go position by position and break it all down. And the one position that we have not been concerned with is the defensive line. So we know that is a strength of ours. So speaking of strengths and weaknesses and intriguing matchups, what is an intriguing matchup for this first game that you are kind of going to see? Like which position groups against each other do you think could make or break this game? Besides the defensive line of the Eagles and the offensive line of the Falcons. We know that's going to be intriguing.
Yes. Beyond that, the marquee matchup is always going to be the Falcons offense versus the Eagles defense. That has been the case time and time again. And I'll sort of go chalk there and go with the Falcons, receivers with headlined by Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts going up against his Eagles secondary. The Eagles certainly have some talented playmakers on that back end, particularly with Darius Slay. But one of the things that's compelling to me is for years and years, for basically a decade, we've known how teams were going to generally game plan against the Falcons due to the presence of Julio Jones, a lot of bracket coverage. In the case of a team like the Eagles, they would normally, at least based off what the Lions, how they use Darius Slay, they would basically say, you're going to shadow Julio Jones. We're going to give you safety help. And, it's up to, you, Avonte Maddox or whoever else to be able to live on an island against Calvin Ridley. And the Falcons, when they've been at their best, have been able to exploit that. Okay, you're going to double this guy. And we got one-on-ones with Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst and Mohamed Sanu and Kyle Pitts, et cetera, moving forward. And the Falcons have been able to successfully exploit that. Julio Jones is gone. And so it's going to probably change how teams game plan is for the team. Do you sort of basically adopt the same exact rules and now apply them to Calvin Ridley? Do you do them for a rookie like Kyle Pitts, who is a very intriguing and dynamic player that's going to create mismatch problems for a lot of teams, including potentially Eagles? We know the Eagles aren't a team that has great linebacker core, and in a world where Malcolm Jenkins was still back there at the safety position, maybe you could sit there and say, hey, Malcolm Jenkins, you're the savvy veteran, see what you can do against Kyle Pitts, but you don't have Malcolm Jenkins anymore. And so you wonder about that. So that to me is going to be the intriguing chess match. You also have familiarity between Arthur Smith, the Falcons head coach, and Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles defensive coordinator, given their time as assistants way back in the day in Tennessee. And so maybe that familiarity helps or hurts that sort of chess match. I don't know. So I'm very intrigued to see how the Eagles decide to scheme things up. My assumption is that they'll sort of take the old tried and true of, we're going to get pressure with force. We're going to win up front, and hopefully we can drop 7, and that will be able to hide any sort of deficiencies we might have in terms of man coverage matchups.
So before we get your prediction, I want one more question here. And it's who's, in your opinion, the X factor in this game, whether it's on the Eagles side or Atlanta side? Who do you think is going to be the X factor in this game?
I think it's going to be Jalen Hurts. Let's go with that. As I mentioned earlier, I think the Falcons' hope is that they can dial up pressure and make Jalen Hurts look like an inexperienced quarterback that may or may not struggle to throw with consistency and in a rhythm from the pocket, and have him running for dear life and speeding up his process, an issue that he's had in the before. And if that can lead to some turnovers, that will give this offense the opportunities they need to be able to put points on the board, given that I do expect the Eagles defense to have, relative success slowing down this Falcons offense like we've seen in the past. To me, Jalen Hurts is going to be an X factor for this Eagles team. I don't expect the Eagles to rely heavily on Jalen Hurts to, sort of win them the game. But, I don't know if you can just simply say, look, we're just going to feed the ball to Miles Sanders all day and expect us to win that way. Maybe they can. The Falcons aren't necessarily a team known for their formidable run defense, so maybe it's possible. But I think there's going to be opportunities where Jalen Hurts is going to have to make some throws, particularly on those third downs, and Dean Pease is going to be able to dial up a lot of blitzes, and his ability to execute and extend drives in those critical situations, I think, is going to mean the difference between the Eagles being able to keep pace with even a slowed down Falcons offense. They're still going to have to put points up on the board in order to win this game.
So we want your prediction, and then I have to ask one final question out of kind of, crap talking and sympathy. So first off, fantastic information. I mean, I feel like I have learned a lot about the Atlanta Falcons just in the 30 minutes that we have you. So I want to thank you for that. Who's winning on Sunday?
I think the Falcons are going to win, but I think it's going to be a very close game. These Falcons-Eagles games always come down to the final possession, whether it's the Eagles defense making a goal line stand at the 1 yard line, or Julio Jones taking a screen pass on an all-out blitz from Jim Schwartz to the house, or something along those lines.
One-time Jim Schwartz blitz, right?
And so these games are always nail biters. So if I was to put like a score prediction, it's probably going to be like a 24-23 sort of relatively low scoring game where, you know, a game winning field goal might be the thing that decides it. But I'm leaning towards the Falcons at home, but we'll see.
All right, so I have to ask one final question. Now, you understand that we in Philadelphia have been living of the ghost of the "we threw snowballs at Santa Claus" shenanigans. Are you in Atlanta still living the ghost of 28-3?
Well, you know, every time I go on a podcast,
when will it go away?
you guys tell me whenever I go on a podcast, someone always brings it up. You know, it's a thing where, like, you know it exists. Like,
sure,
I have made peace with it, but like, there's no amount of peace that you as an organization and you as a fan base that can make with it. There's still some psychological traumatic scars and emotional scars that I'll be carrying probably for the rest of my life because, you know, it was the Falcons falconing in the most Falcon way on the biggest stage in the history of, you know, mankind. So it's one of those things where, like, I can't sit here and pretend that it's just going to go away. It's not going to go away until the Falcons win a Super Bowl, which, you know, I've been a fan for 30 years. They haven't done it. So it's probably going to be another 30 years before they wind up doing it. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. I've made my peace with it, but it's going to continue to hang over this team's head for the foreseeable future.
But Chip, you know, you can say, you know, for Aaron, it's tough. But again, you know, as Eagles fans, to get that Super Bowl and for the Eagles back in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004 lose Super Bowl. Those 4 straight, you know, 3 straight trips to the NFC Championship game losing. Then you go to, unfortunately, it was against Atlanta that you went and you made to Super Bowl, but then you lost to the New England Patriots. You know, right there was tough. And then 2008, you went to the NFC Championship game and lost. That is tough. You know, that's tough. And then, but the Super Bowl, like Aaron said, the Super Bowl kind of, you know, puts a little bit of a healing on you. It's still tough to look back and see that of what could have been.
As Eagles fans, for Aaron, he's living with PTSD. I mean, and like I said, you know, I'm glad that you've gotten some closure with it. But like, I know as an Eagles fan, if I'm sitting up at 28-3, I'm like, yo, this game is not over yet. You know what I mean? Like, if those specific numbers, like,
look, every time the Falcons score, when the score is 21-3, there was a game this preseason where the score was 21-3, and Falcon fans collectively were like, "Oh no, we gotta prevent this another touchdown." And
you score a touchdown, you're going for 2.
Fortunately, you know, the Falcons were down 21-3, but it was, you know, one of those things. Fortunately, their third string safety took a safety on the ensuing drive, and it was like, "Oh, thank God, a bullet dodge." We got rid of that situation. So it is one of those things where it's just like, look, you know, we're mostly over it, but, you know, we're still going to be the brunt of jokes until the Falcons redeem themselves, and understandably so. So it's just one of those things where, you know, I don't think we'll ever truly live it down.
Well, right, and I apologize because you mentioned that every podcast you go on, someone asks. I didn't know. I'm
used to it by this point.
I had to ask for us. It's almost like you had that response like perfectly scripted. You're like, well. Aaron, man, I want to thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate here at AATSN, you know, having that eyes on the enemy kind of thing, and just, you know, shouting out what you do down in Atlanta. So, do you want to plug yourself a little bit? Talk about the amazing things you're doing with your podcast.
Yeah, you know, if people want to check out LockedOn Falcons, it's a daily podcast, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You can find it on whatever podcast platform you're looking for. We'll soon be transitioning to YouTube in the next month or so as well. So you'll be able to see this pretty face, you know, every day as I talk Falcons. And of course, if people want to follow me on Twitter and get my very snarky and very sarcastic and generally pessimistic outlook on the Atlanta Falcons, at least on Twitter. The podcast is very different, but you know, or some people will say it's not that different, but you know, I personally think it is. But you know, on Twitter you can find me at FalcFans, and of course the link is on the page in front of me. But if for anybody listening to the audio version, it's spelled FalcFans.
Awesome. Man, Aaron, seriously, we can't thank you enough for coming on, for spending some time here. You know, we will at the end of the night say, you know, go Birds. I don't know if there's anything you want to say for your guys before you pop off. And we talk about everything you said behind your back. Once you leave the room.
Well, Johnny said it. Rise up.
Rise up.
It's the old logo, the old slogan. So we're sticking to with it.
All right, you gonna do a little dirty bird as you leave?
No. Dirty Bird is. We leave that for opposing teams to bust it out with third quarter touchdowns against the Falcons, where they pop a Dirty Bird. So.
We gotta build your confidence back up as a Falcons fan, man.
The only people that do the Dirty Bird is opposing teams when they score against the Falcons, because it's the one thing. If there was a 28-3 dance, they might do that, but since that doesn't exist yet, it is what it is.
All right. Well, again, Aaron Freeman from the LockedOn Falcons podcast, out at Falc fans at LockedOn the Falcons. We want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you're subscribing to all of his good stuff, and we'll have to touch base after the game and see what happened was. And Ryan would like you to know that your stadium is gorgeous.
There you go. Appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Johnny and I are going to keep talking, but we bid you adieu, sir.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
All right. So, Johnny, a lot of fantastic information from him. What was your biggest takeaway from anything that he said?
What he mentioned, talking about, the Falcons and, what the fans clamor about is the talent they have, but it's the coaching. And it's something that we've talked about a lot in terms of, Doug Peterson the last couple of years and seeing what you can get with these young players, because are they being developed properly? Are you able to get enough out of these players that, originally you saw when you drafted them or you acquired them? And I think that's huge in what Aaron said about, you look at the Falcons roster and they do have some talent. They have a lot of talent on their team. So the one thing that you can really see is this coaching staff with, Dean Pease and Arthur Smith able to get enough out of these players to be able to be contending in the NFC. Their division, aside of Tampa Bay, Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta, who's going to be, giving Tampa the biggest headache. So that's one thing to really keep an eye on. And I feel like that's great information. He said he jam-packed with information about the Atlanta Falcons. And it really helped you kind of understand the matchup and the opponent that the Eagles are going to be going to Atlanta to face. And I think it was absolute great information. You know what it is? He set, because we're going to try and do this every single week. He set the bar so high for what we expect on these enemies in the nest shows. My God. So again, we really appreciate Aaron coming on. But we got a couple things to talk about ourselves now, because there was some Eagles news. First off, we do need to tell everybody that we will not be making our official Eagles predictions right now for one very simple reason. Peanut, he 100%. Aaron's very smart too. So we on Sunday morning, because it is an away game, will be live at our home when the Eagles are away from home, which is the West End in Quakertown. We go live at 11:30 in the morning. We'll be live. So you can actually come out and hang out and party with us. And there's a Devontae Smith giveaway, jersey giveaway, and there's food specials, and there's all kinds of great stuff at the West End in Quakertown. So that during that hour pregame show is when we will give our official Sunday predictions. So we're not giving them tonight. Aaron gave his. That's cool. Did Jeff give you his? I know he's not on tonight. Did Jeff give you his? Jeff did not give me his, but we can work that out where we can either play his on Sunday, or he can always give us and we can read it off what he predicts. But we'll get his prediction. Jeff's not going to be here. Jeff's not going to be here on Sunday. He'll be in Atlanta because he's going to be in Hotlanta. He's gonna disguise himself with a Groucho Marx, how you doing, and sneak into Atlanta. So maybe he'll send us something. But we are being joined by Michael Bauer, who is the host of the Dynasty Decisions that you see on YouTube, only exclusive. Gives some great Dynasty and all fantasy type of information. But he's going to be joining us, so he'll be giving his insight and his prediction as well. So it should be a very awesome, fun show. Definitely come out, like Chip said. There'll be Devontae Smith giveaway, jersey giveaway, which is going to be great. Yep. So definitely come out. You have to come out to be able to register for that. There is no cost to register. We will be giving away at the end of the show. So definitely something you want to stop by to register for if you're interested in that. But come out. Join us, be in the atmosphere. It's going to be great. Be meeting people again.
be with people again.
It's the atmosphere, of the game day. It's just going to be great. Opening week is always so special.
It is. So there was a couple of things. We have about 20 minutes left in our show. There were a couple pieces of Eagles news because there's always Eagles news. There is always Eagles news. The shows write themselves. So I want to have a couple of conversations real quick, and we won't go any longer than about 20 minutes. Everybody's favorite spoke today. Howie was on the radio, and he spoke today. He spoke about Carson Wentz. He spoke about Zach Ertz. He spoke about Andre Dillard. He spoke about Jordan Mailata. He spoke about the coaching staff. So what were your initial takeaways from the first level of garbage that Howie Roseman has spoken in this offseason?
Garbage? Why is it garbage?
We have learned, because we have learned when dealing with Howie Roseman, who is a shyster, if you will, that you have to really read between the lines, because he's going to talk because he loves to hear himself talk. But he's not always going to say anything.
But what he did say about the Jalen Hurts and would you have drafted him, and he said he would draft him because the playoff games. Exactly what Peanut said. The playoff games,
he basically called Wentz injury prone.
What he said was, we need our backup quarterback in all those playoff games. So basically, what you were saying was, Carson Wentz just couldn't stay healthy, so we needed to get somebody that could be on the field. That's basically what he said. And of course, we keep going on, and the problem is, you're going to be talking about, Jalen Hurts and Carson because
they're forever linked.
They're forever linked, but also this year especially because they're still tied to a draft pick, whether it's a second rounder or a first rounder. So there's still going to be eyes on Indianapolis and what they do and how many plays, and make sure he's staying healthy, make sure he's on the field for those 75% of the snaps. It's going to happen. It's going to be that way, whether you like it or not. It's going to be that way. And if you don't want to hear about Carson Wentz or anything like that, then dig a hole, climb in it, and come out maybe in 2023, 2024. But you're going to hear about it, unfortunately.
We even tried to go for a while without saying his name. And look, I understand, because it was the recent breakup and we don't want to see each other. And, we don't want to talk about each other. And we know we're dating other people. We understand that. But in reality, Carson Wentz is still tied to this organization, at least for the season. And yes,
okay. I think
Hollywood Howie dropped the mic.
You know what? I think this is perfect. What Peanut says here, Hollywood Howie, I think that may need to be a shirt.
That might need to be a shirt. That might need to be a shirt, Hollywood Howie. Because, again, he obviously likes to hear himself talk. I mean, he might as well be a podcaster because dude likes to talk. But again, he said, we really liked Carson Wentz, but all of a sudden, we went to these playoff games and he couldn't play. So, but he compared it to San Francisco's drafting away from Garoppolo and them going out and getting Trey Lance. It's not the same. It's not the same. Garoppolo, yes, is always injured, but you're drafting Trey Lance to be the quarterback of the future. That is not what you went ahead and drafted Jalen Hurts for. You drafted Jalen Hurts to be a backup to Carson Wentz, and then Carson Wentz was like, nah, that's not cool. I don't appreciate you.
So I do want to I'm not going to bring it up right now because I want to talk about the rest of the interview, but after this, I want to bring up something that was announced. I think it was yesterday or the day prior, but we'll talk about that quick because it kind of ties into this Jalen Hurts, Carson thing and everything like that. But
right.
Getting on to what he talked about with Zach Ertz. How do you feel like what he said about Zach Ertz? Because it ties into also the whole Dallas Goedert thing as well, which we'll talk about as well.
So we as fans said multiple times, we don't want Zach Ertz to go anywhere. We don't want Zach Ertz to go anywhere. Now, if he happens to go somewhere, that's what it was. But he said flat out, he goes, we wanted him here. He had a bad year. I had a bad year. We all had bad years. It seemed to be like, we're not just going to give this guy away. We still value him. And he's coming back. And now the tone has changed. Like, there have been amends made where all of a sudden Zach Ertz is saying, I'm going to retire an Eagle. This is my franchise. I'm a Super Bowl hero here. I never am ever going to buy a beer again. My wife loves this. Like, this is my place. So Howie had to change his tune to, no, we never wanted to get rid of him. I think it was just everyone's feelings were kind of hurt.
Yeah, and Zach mentioned that. He talked about
how many times did I say they weren't going to trade him? How many times that he was going to be an Eagles green the whole season? I'm not trying to say, I'm always right and I called that one because I'm not that kind of guy. I think that's kind of a douchey way of living, saying that you're always right and every prediction that you make is right. But I definitely said that was correct.
And
definitely said that one.
I thought he was going to be gone.
I didn't.
Yeah, that was my feeling. I thought he was going to be gone. I was wrong, and I'm happy I'm wrong. I like. With the whole thing with Ertz is he could be a safety blanket for Hurts or Hurts and Ertz. Yes. Tongue twister there, but
it's a 2 tight end offense.
But the other thing about it is, going into the feelings being hurt, and you have that. You have issues with either it's any type of job management, and you get on the wrong page, and you think you're worth more than they're actually thinking you're worth, stuff like that. But for what he said and what Howie said, they kind of hashed it out and kind of back on, good terms and everything. And Ertz is being an absolute professional about it. He said he's having the most fun.
He was.
Having the most fun he's had. But the whole Dallas Goedert thing with the contract situation, it's not finalized. He doesn't have an extension, and they're gonna just kind of see what's gonna be of it. So is it this year that are they gonna what Ertz does, what Goddard does, and who are we gonna pick, and what are we gonna do? Because you can't pay 2 tight ends $10 to $12 million a year. It's just not feasible.
So I think talking about the contract with Goddard, yes, he can explore other options. And Peanut, you're absolutely right. I mean, but I think it's a different. We have been burned so often by these injury-prone players, right? And we sign them to the big deals, and then we can't give them away, and then we're sitting on $50 million of dead cap space. With Dallas Goedert, I'm not going to say that he's injury-prone, but he always has something going on.
He keeps getting nicked up.
He keeps getting nicked up and can't really push past it. So they're going into a season where they're going to need 2 tight ends. And I think they want to go, listen, you haven't really done enough to get paid like a number one. Obviously, Zach Ertz is in the twilight of his career, so we're not going to up his contract. We might sign him to a couple $1 million to finish out his career. But is Goddard the guy of the future? Is he a guy, like Kyle Pitts, who we're going up against this week? Because if he's not, you can't contribute that much money to him if he's just okay. I think that this is a prove-it year for Goddard. I think that if some of these tight ends hadn't been locked down to some of these bigger deals, Mark Andrews in Baltimore just got a huge deal. I don't think Goddard's worth that money yet. Now, if them not paying him results in him going, well, you didn't pay me, so I'm going to leave, then so be it. That's another soft mentality. I don't think Dallas Goedert is that guy. I think Dallas Goedert is going to compete, and I think that this year being a prove-it deal for him is important.
It's a price aspect. Aspect because
where do you fall?
Because Mark Andrews for Baltimore just got a huge deal. I think it was around $14 million a year annually. So, my biggest thing on it is, he's not worth that much. Now, if he comes out and has an absolute spectacular season, looks like the bona fide tight end,
correct,
then you're going to have a real tough decision to see what to do with Ertz and what to do with Goddard and see what you can kind of do. Do you, like I said, it's going to be real tough to keep both of them at high numbers.
You can't.
It's just a lot of money tied up in that position. And it's different than wide receiver. It's different because you have you can play 12 personnel. Yeah, you can play 2 guys out on the field at the same time. But that's going to be real tough. And it's going to really see, who's going to step up and who's going to, basically earn that next contract. And I think that's something to really look at this season and to kind of see what you have. Because like Ryan says here, we'll get to Dillard is the trade deadline. Whether what happens with a guy like Zach Ertz, if you're not in contention, happens with a guy like Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert, if you get a deal, or for a team that loses a tight end and they need somebody, and they're looking for a player, so that's my only thing to keep an eye on, because
I don't think that Zach Ertz gets traded, though. I think if Zach Ertz has a rebound season, so it really depends on Zach Ertz. If Zach Ertz has a rebound season to back even near the level that he plays at, then he gets signed for a 2 to 3 year contract. And then after that, it's, thank you for finishing out your career here. If Dallas Goedert has a supremely excellent season, then you see Zach Ertz go away because you've now shown that Goddard is the guy. And if Goddard doesn't have that kind of season in an offense that is built for 2 tight ends, then there's your answer too.
Yeah, but the thing is, with Nick Sirianni is we really don't know how he wants to run his offense, and that's
I'm
really,
saying a 2 tight end offense. That's what it's going to be. I have decided.
Well, when you're wrong, you can admit it. So
and I will.
But we don't know, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'll let you get with a quick little Dillard, because I don't think we should spend too much time on talking about anything with Andre Dillard. But he's going to be the backup. But
so all I'm going to say is this: one more final thing about the Zach Ertz thing, and I have to go to the video evidence to prove my point of why it's a 2 tight end system. Here's the Philadelphia Eagles depth chart, the unofficial depth chart by the Public Relations Department. Okay? If you look, there's a wide receiver 1 in Devonta Smith. There's a left tackle. There's an Isaac Salomalo. There's Jason Kelce. There's Brandon Brooks. Oh, look at this. First string tight end. 2 names listed.
Because they're 1A.
A 2 tight end offense.
We'll see.
Because look, there's a space here. Nobody is playing second string tight end. Jack Stoll is hanging out here in the 3rd. That's how I know I'm right.
Every time I hear Jack Stoll, for some reason I think of Pirates of the Caribbean. And maybe it's because of
Jack Sparrow, bro.
I don't care, but Jack Stoll.
What's the rum gone?
But I'm just saying, it brings me I love the name. Awesome football name. But
great fullback name. Great fullback name.
Let's just not even talk about Dillard. Let's just get on to.
No, I want to, because my feelings about.
Go ahead.
I'll
I'll let you talk about it. Go ahead.
I'm gonna bold myself here. Here we go. The question was asked point blank. Was it a wasted draft pick? Was it a waste? No, it was great. We have a great problem where we've got 2 guys that can play tackle. It doesn't matter where they were drafted. We talk about Jason Kelce and Danny Watkins. Bro, that's not something you should bring up. Danny Watkins was one of your biggest busts of all time. Why would you bring that up? That was dumb, right? Jordan Mailata is a supreme superstar in the making. If he has even a respectable season, he is going to get paid ridiculously. And I hope it's by the Philadelphia Eagles. But he is going to demand a stupid amount on the open market. Andre Dillard is a bust. Oh, well, Andre Dillard didn't really play this last season. That's why he's a bust. Every chance that he's had, he's gotten beat. And I've said multiple times, the less tape that we can have on Andre Dillard, the higher we can still ask for him. Look, his asking price is burying by the minute. And like Ryan said, I'm hoping that someone has a left tackle goes down. They have to beg for Andre Dillard, because I'll give him. I will personally put a bow on him. Right. And Michael, exactly. He wasn't a bust from a talent standpoint, but he was a bust in the sense that he never lost his passion for the game. And we never got to see him at his first round talent ability. Same with Marcus Smith. Same with all those guys. They just weren't up to the level that they got drafted. Andre Dillard has shown nothing. He was a reach when we drafted him. Now, if we're talking about draft picks, Jordan Mailata was way after him. We traded up to get Jordan Mailata. Great. He is a freak of nature athletically. He's also your starting left tackle. The fact that 3 years in, Andre Dillard has not cracked the starting lineup as a number 1 first-round draft pick, and I say number 1 like the first draft pick. He was a first-round draft pick, says to me that he is a bust in midnight green. If he finds success elsewhere, great. But he probably won't, because the best offensive line coach in football is working for the Eagles. If Jeff Stoutland can't get anything out of Andre Dillard, nobody can. And that's my take on Andre Dillard. Anything to add?
To me, it's tough because they went ahead of Houston to grab him because they knew Houston most likely was going to grab him at that pick. So they jumped ahead of him to draft him. And then basically the player that Houston drafted is, Titus Howard is a lot better than Andre Dillard at this point right now. But
everybody's better than Andre Dillard. Brett Toth is better than Andre Dillard, and I don't like that guy.
I
like his story. I like his story.
Yeah, but I like Toth. I said it last year, and
I know you do.
But Andre Dillard it is what it is right now. We don't have to rely on him to be playing right now, so we can kind of just put it to the side right now.
Last season, we had to rely on a then 38-year-old bruised and beaten up player because we didn't trust Andre Dillard.
Well, Andre Dillard was hurt, so that kind of really.
But that's my point. You had your chance. You were given a chance.
But the good, I guess you can say the silver lining. Oh, a little bit better of the word than the good part. The silver lining of the Andre Dillard injury was you saw Jordan Mailata break out, and you saw what you saw last year and what you're seeing this year, and being that number one left tackle. So there is some goods with it. There's some good stuff with that. So I'm just gonna leave that go. And the thing I wanted to bring up before about the Carson and the Hurts, and they picked Hurts to be a backup. I think one of the biggest basically stamps and almost nailing in the trust aspect of Jalen Hurts is he was named captain by the teammates. A second-year player who played 4 games the previous year. Leads by example. The leader is named captain by the players. And Brandon Graham mentioned it today. To believe. The one thing is the talent aspect, we've talked about it. It isn't as high as you'd want. There is some talent on the team.
We don't know yet.
You don't know yet. But the one thing is, if these players believe in Hurts, and Hurts can lead, and you have that type of, he's got us, we got this, and you have that type of belief,
sure,
anything is possible. But I think that's huge of what the teammates and the veterans to be able to name Hurts a captain. I think that says a lot.
I think it's huge. I think it is absolutely. This is great. Sorry. Andre and Jordan are like apples and bananas. I like both fruits. Great. You're an idiot, Howie. Sorry. Not you, Peanut. Peanut, you're brilliant. I think it's huge. I think it says a lot because the one thing that has not been questioned about Jalen Hurts is his leadership. He is a leader. He is a winner. He wants to win. He's going to do the things to make himself 1% better every day. He's going to do those things. I think that Jalen Hurts has dealt with everything thrown his way flawlessly.
Oh, yeah.
I think he is taking it in stride, all this talk about Deshaun Watson and, everybody referring back to Carson Wentz. And he's like, I'm just going to go out here. I'm going to talk to these wide receivers. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And everyone kind of went, wow, none of this shit is bugging him.
Did you also now, go along this captain? Did you see what Brian Dawkins said about Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
And, I'll say Brian Dawkins is by far the most beloved Eagle of all time. Of all time. And the sentiment that he gave, the glowing endorsement that he gave for Jalen Hurts, and he even mentioned, about basically he's on that cusp of, them absolutely like loving him. And it's another ringing endorsement for Jalen Hurts and the type of person, the type of leader, the charisma, everything he brings. It has a huge effect, and it maybe on the fan base is starting to have a huge effect on. But again, it's having a huge effect on the team itself, and the coaches notice it. The coaches say stuff, but
for sure.
Now you just have to back it all up, and that's what the games are.
You had me at Brian Dawkins. Had me at Brian Dawkins.
I like that.
But again, you're talking about a preseason where we didn't get to see this guy. So what do we have to rely on? We have to rely on the way he performed in these joint practices and the way he performed the training camp. So in reality, you have to rely on the guys around him, what the coaches have said, what the players have said, the fact that they voted him captain. That to me says more than anything that I'm going to say. Maybe he did get better at his accuracy. Maybe he did improve his footwork. Maybe he is. We don't know yet. But what we do know is that the team is saying the right things about their captain and their quarterback.
QB1.
QB1. And with that, I think it is time for the first edition of the 2021 Eureka Locks.
It's time for the Eureka Locks of the week. Who's your lock?
That was all creepy. That was like a deep, scary voice there. What was that? Did you record that voiceover?
I did record the voiceover.
All right, so why don't you explain what the Eureka Lock segment is, since we're going to be doing this all season?
So the Eureka Lock segment, basically...
You know what? Hold on, wait. I got to be fair. You have not had your opportunity to have the spotlight yet. So
you're going to give me the spotlight. Thank you.
There you are, sir.
I appreciate the spotlight. But what the Eureka Locks is, it's basically your lock of the week. It could be anything. It could be a prediction, a game prediction. It could be a player prediction. It could be basically anything you want. It's a lock of the week. Now, if you're, totally wrong, you're going to be mentioned next week.
Yeah.
And if you're totally right, the person who was right is going to probably gloat about it. So, the give and take. So it should be fun. We're going to do one each week. I didn't get Jeff's, but it's something I could probably get his before Sunday. We can always announce it Sunday, so we at least have it on record to then talk about the next week. But I'll start it off.
All right, do it.
So my lock of the week, my Eureka lock of the week is the Carolina Panthers are going to dominate the New York Jets.
That's easy.
Sam Darnold is going to go and play his former team, and he's going to go for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Wow. So your Eureka lock is your Eureka lock that the Panthers are going to win, or that Darnold's going to put up stupid numbers?
Well, if the Panthers are dominating, they're winning. It's kind of a little sentiment. They're gonna win. If they dominate and lose, and that's almost like a Fox News headline, but makes no sense. Like that. But Darnold 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. That'll be my Eureka lock of the week.
Okay. Ryan would like to sneak in his Eureka lock, saying that Devonta Smith 6 catches, 105 yards and a touchdown, averaging well over 20 yards a catch. I mean, that'd be,
I have Devonta Smith in one of my fantasy leagues, and that would be a
that'd be A-okay.
Wonderful week for me.
Yeah. So Sam Darnold, Jason says that is a bold. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Yeah, he will not be able to see. Peanut sneaking in his Eureka lock, saying the Cowboys upset the. Whoa, hold up.
I don't like that.
That is bold as hell. If you were a Word document, you would not be in italics. You'd be in bold. All right, so you're writing these down, right, Johnny? Because that was one I want to.
All right.
That's one I want to keep in mind. All right, Jason. It's not for the whole season. You got to do one lock per week, bro. All right. Jason is putting Eureka locks for the season. All right, so Ryan says 6 catches, 105 for Devontae Smith.
So Ryan, 6,
Peanut sneaking in
1 for Devontae.
Peanut sneaking in a Cowboys upset over the Bucks.
Dallas wins 31-28.
31-28. And here is my Eureka lock of the week. It's not as saucy as everyone else's, but it has to do with Miles Sanders. After seasons of him not getting enough touches, Miles Sanders will carry the ball at least 20 times on Sunday.
Now, do you want to do 20 touches or 20 carries?
20 carries.
Oh. Okay.
Because they're a double tight end system and they're going to run the ball. And they're against a weak defensive line and defense for Atlanta. So, in my mind, there is no way that they got to start getting rid of some of these narratives, right? They got to start getting rid of some of these narratives like, Brandon Brooks can't stay healthy. They got to try and keep him healthy. Devontae Smith is too small. Well, he's still going to, light up the seams. You got to start getting rid of some of these narratives, and easy ones like Miles Sanders has never had another 20 carry game. It's pretty simple. You give him the ball 20 damn times.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is that Miles Sanders carries the ball 20 times on Sunday. Here you go.
Oh.
Jason is now with it.
I wrote it down. I saw it, so I wrote it down. So it is officially written down. Whether I lose this paper, that's another thing.
Oh, 100%. Take a picture, put it in the group chat or one of the 1,700 group chats we have. Jason is saying Jalen Hurts, 305 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 75 yards rushing, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Again, I would
cool.
like that because I do have Jalen Hurts in one of my fantasy leagues too. So
there you go.
I'm
I think for my Uleka lock, it really is as simple as, look, there is so much that they're always saying about the Eagles and, they're pulling up the stats and, they've never won in 23-degree weather or below. Like, listen, easy ones to get rid of, they're going to get rid of just to shut some people up. They're giving Miles Sanders the ball 20 times in carry mode, which also helps Jalen Hurts because he doesn't have to pass the ball as much.
I agree. Hey, it's gonna be fun to see. It's gonna be fun to see this offense. It's gonna be fun to see what happens on the defensive side of the ball, being able to see what Jonathan Gannon does. So I'm excited. I'm ready for the pregame show, and it's only Wednesday. So
why? What pregame show would that be, Johnny?
The live pregame show where people can come out and hear what we have to say about this matchup and give a little bit more in-depth of analysis when it comes to the Falcons versus the Eagles.
So again, we are going to be every single week that the Eagles are away, we are going to be holding a live pregame show at the West End in Quakertown. An hour and a half before kickoff, we go live. We will stream to YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff. But you have a chance to see us in person. Look, this camera does not do us justice. I mean, I am gorgeous. But you also have the opportunity to win a Devontae Smith jersey. But you have to be there to win. The West End, they have great food specials. They have great drink specials. So since Sunday is a 1 o'clock game, we will go live at 11:30. We'll go from 11:30 to 12:30, and then we will, do all kinds of great things. We'll make our official predictions then. Thank you, Michael Bauer. Appreciate you. At the West End in Quakertown, there's the address. You can't even miss it because it is literally the West End Boulevard. And that's what we're going to do. So our official predictions there will go with the, who's not playing. We'll go the sitting list and who's, going to be suiting up from the practice squad and all that stuff.
Yeah, news and notes for the rest of the week. We're going to have a lot of stuff to break down. If you have any questions, definitely shoot one of us, a DM or anything like that. Message us if you have any questions you want us to break down or anything like that. Just, we're there. We're there for the people. You like that?
We're there for the people.
But,
for the people. And that's only away games, just so you know. We're doing this for away games.
So there's 9 away games. So
right.
We'll be.
It might expand bigger. We don't know yet. This is our first one that we're doing, but we're starting with away games.
And if you missed this week, we'll still have other giveaways. There'll be more things, that you'll be able to, come and see us, and also stuff to win and stuff like that. So we have other ideas up our sleeve. So definitely, if you want to come out and join, some great food, great drinks, great content, come on out.
You can't beat it. And with that, let's wrap up our show because we have, we hit our hour now, 9 minutes. So I'm pumped. We had a great first half hour with our wonderful Atlanta Falcons podcaster, Aaron Freeman at Falc Fans from LockedOn Falcons podcast at LockedOn Falcons. If you missed the first half, make sure you listen back on your Spotify and your Apple podcasts, or even your Twitters and your Facebooks. All of it's there. He had a lot of important things to say about what was going to be happening on Sunday. So make sure you listen back to the first half hour. It was really fantastic. Again, we want to thank Aaron for joining us. Our fantastic sponsors, starting right up here with Statement Games. Statement Game is a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. Everybody's in fantasy leagues. Go to Statement Games. Find out who they tell you to sign up for, who to drop, who to add, all of that good stuff. OddsJam.com. Use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. Many of y'all degenerates gamble, so this is what you need to be following because they'll tell you how to, not lose money. Our AATBIRDS.com/shop. Make sure that you are checking out all the brand new designs, including Costume Mentality, including what's going to apparently be the one of your new one, Hollywood Howie.
I got some ideas. I got some ideas.
I can't wait for that to drop at 11:30 tonight because you've already created it. The Burning Bridges brand new show. I mean, lots of great designs. You got to check it out. 99jersey.com, AATBIRDS 20 for a 20% discount at checkout. Manscaped.com, AATBIRDS.
Your balls will thank you.
For 20% off and free shipping at checkout. La Terrain luxury watches, the code AATBIRDS at checkout for 10% off. And obviously we have now expanded at this point to the AAT Sports Network, or all authentic talk sports network on Twitter at AATSports_sports. It's what we are all about. I think that's it, right? Did I get it all?
I think that is it. And Jason did post here. Unfortunately, he works retail. I can't make it out, but we will have the Eagles do play Dallas on a Monday night. So definitely stay tuned.
I think we have a Thursday night game coming up too, right?
That one's at home, I think. That one's Tampa.
Okay, cool.
So,
cool.
But the Monday night one is away. So definitely keep an eye out, Jason. We may have to see you there.
Yeah. So, and Ryan, thanks for all your thanks to everybody for commenting and participating. I mean, we really appreciate you guys. We can't do this without you. So make sure you are, continuing to watch, continuing to share out. We appreciate everybody. And with that wonderful, happy sentiment before we start crushing and killing opponents every Sunday and Monday and Thursday, we will say a very positive and a happy go Birds.
Go Birds.
Let's have a conversation about your testicles.
Attention, listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. First, scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even Uranus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget to use Crop Preserver ball deodorant and their Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. For a clean trinity and beyond, your Spaceballs will thank you.